guys, I'm Gavin Favor from Fight for Hobby Supply, and today we are going to be doing ACT3 Update 8.
Is that what happens when you have too many trains?
Yep. Hi.
G is here today, and obviously he did my intro, and he'll wind up doing the end. But I'm just going to show you what we got done, and I'll tell you a little bit about what the surprise is for today. Okay, guys, I don't remember if last video if I had the paint on top of the tape or not, but I've got all the track back together, and I'll go into the diagrams in a little bit. But anyway, you can see that I've got all the track together. I've got all the wires run down through, all the feeders in. The only things I don't have hooked up is this reverse section and the other reverse section. From this point right here and this point right here, well, actually on the other side of that bridge, all the joints are basically just static joints. They're just connected simply because I can reach them. From that point on all of these tracks all the way around, I now have them all soldered, okay? And what I did is I soldered them on the flat, laid them back up there, and then filed off the rail heads so that they're nice and smooth. You can see that G has got a train made up here, and that's the exciting part because he's going to run a train on here for the first time. So you'll get to see a train running on the ACT3 for the first time today. Not much else new up here other than, as you can see, the track is all just laying here. I'm not sure if I'm going to attach it with anything or whether I'm going to use the ballast to hold it in place. That remains to be seen. I have my DCC system just temped to the end of the bus line right here. We've already tried it. It does work. I've checked all the blocks and everything is straight. I have no shorts. I've got to get the reversing units connected in at some point in time to the two reversing sections. And then down here underneath you can see that red and white wire hanging down. I have a whole bunch of those around the layout here, and those are merely extension wires for the turnouts that I have in place so far, simply so I can reach the DS64s. And all the turnouts that are up here are used turnouts and double crossover. I did use a little bit of new track on the upper level, but I have all used turnouts. I've tested them, they all work. So, and another thing I was going to show you is, over here I thought this looked a little bit goofy with the foam here. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to cut a gully in the pink foam here and run it out here to the edge of the layout somewhere. And then there'll be just a little tiny wood trestle here that'll go through the ditch. And then this bridge over it, and then these bridges over that bridge, or those bridges, as the case may be. Another thing that you may have noticed when I was wielding the camera around is, there's our first piece of scenery back there in the corner. One more time, I was able to save the mesa. It'll go in there and I'll blend in the scenery around it. That's basically the first piece of scenery on the entire layout. So I think I'll wrap this part of it up, and we'll let Gavin take the train off and we'll see how it runs around. Okay, this is going to be the inaugural run. Gavin added a few more cars to the train. It's a little bit, we were just talking about it being deceptive, that where that train is at right now is actually flat, but it looks like it's going downhill. We can cut loose those cars and they'll sit right there. So let's see how this goes. This poor locomotive is, I picked it out of the cabinet, and it's one of the only ones that I have that really is in desperate need of a motor lubrication, so it doesn't run extremely well. Plus the wheels have gotten dirty from being out here experimenting and testing the track, but it does okay. Now we're going up at 2% grade. Now we're on a flat 4 inches high. And right at this point we're going to go up 2% again to the high spot. And then it's probably going to zoom down the hill. Like, I don't know if the back EMF is on the decoder or not, but now it's crested the hill. Now it's going back down at 2%. Now it's at the 3-inch high level and back on the flat where he took off from. This time I'll back up. We'll just see if we can get it all the way around. It's somewhere here. Okay, when it gets this double crossover, if I threw that, he'd be on the inside of that siding, and that goes up the hill, and then he would be going straight onto that bridge instead of going across the two number 6s up here. And I'll show you here. This track is the reversing loop coming in. Okay, Mr. G, thanks for running the train today.
You're welcome.
Okay guys, I was kind of going to go over the paperwork here. This was the original plan, and this is the way I kind of laid it out. I made a couple of 2 or 3 changes on here. As you can see, I changed that to a right-hand switch. Anyway, and I don't know if this is how I had it all laid out there, but it fit on the board and I was happy with it. This is the plan you saw the first time, which I think replicates what's on that other sheet. This one is the newer, oh no, this is the old one because it still has the left-hand turnout there, but it suffices in allowing me to determine where the feeders and the insulators here and the feeders in red, where they go on the plan, and that all seemed to work out well. That's approximately where I put them all, but that just allowed me to visualize how the the feeders and the insulators were going to go. Let me pull, no, this is the one I wanted right here. This map here, I thought I went around the layout and disassembled the track and wrote down what I had and wrote down changes and everything. And when I went to put it back together, I started getting down here to where all these curves and overpasses are and everything just went to poop. I don't know if I made a mistake somewhere in documenting the pieces I took off and the pieces that I changed, like these right here. This is now a 13 and a 12. It was 11 and a 12. Anyway, after I got them laid out with the correct pieces down in here that I wanted, I tried to document that when I took the thing apart, like I said, and it just didn't fly. I don't know. I made an error somewhere. So what I did was I had a little hissy fit on myself, and I broke out one of each one of the track pieces that I used out here. In other words, an example of each one. And then instead of pulling the track up, once I got it all soldered and everything, what I did is I took a piece of track and laid it on top of each piece of track so that I knew what that piece was without turning it over and reading the bottom. And I could use the same indexing piece anywhere that it fit a piece of track. And I was able to go around and make all these adjustments, you know, put in the 1 3/4 and the 2 7/16 and a right hand turnout, and so on. You get the idea. But I did it without any dots or anything on here, and I just took my pencil and just marked them in so that I have them all documented. And you can see there was even errors here. But anyway, once I got it all documented on the paper, I thought, wow, I said, now I got all this on paper. My computer generated paper was my guide. So, but it was all wrong with the pieces that I had documented over there. So I thought, I'll just start right over from scratch, and I'll just put all these pieces in, or at least start with part of the layout, because part of it was right. Start with part of the layout and start from scratch and piece all this together. Well, in the AnyRail program that I use, it doesn't take into account that when you hook about 30 pieces of Unitrack or so, or more down here, however many there is, 20 pieces, and you get down here to this end, you've got so much slack in all those joiners, even with it soldered, that you can move it a foot or so in either direction. Well, I had a nice, as you can see by running the train, I had a nice separation here. Well, when I put it together in the program, these tracks were right up against each other. So anyway, when it got down here, to make it come out right on the computer program, I had to change some pieces, but the general shape of it and everything is like it is on my now current printed diagram, okay? But this is physically how it is out here. They don't always match because the computer program doesn't take into account the slack, left and right slack at each one of these Cato joints. So anyways, I just thought I'd tell you my little dilemma there with the computer program versus real life. And I want you guys to just keep that in mind. Don't get too hung up on any kind of computer program that won't allow you to hook stuff together. Because once you get a curve in this and you get another curve, you've got all kinds of slack forward and backwards and left and right to hook stuff to a bridge, because you're taking a few thousandths of an inch and you're multiplying it across all of these joints, and you can't even tell. So just keep that in mind when you try and do one of these diagrams on a computer, or you do a layout on a computer. It doesn't always have to be perfect, it just has to fit the space. Now we're going to talk about my little area over here. Okay, it doesn't look like there's been much done here, but there has. I cut off some stuff here. The homosote was sticking inside over here. Had to trim off the edge of the homosote. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of masonite, and I'm just going to put a piece of masonite on here, just large enough to cover up that hole. And then what I think I'm going to do is build just a diorama from the outside. I'll take the glass off the outside and I'll work on the diorama in the hole, kind of like building a ship in a bottle or something, I guess you would say. And leave the window on the outside and just put the masonite there just to cover up the hole. Then I'll paint the whole thing. And getting to the painting deal, I have now filled excuse me, I have now filled all the holes. I've got them all sanded off. I have all my junk taken off the wall here. I've disconnected the speaker up there that used to have the birds chirping and stuff. I will move that to the other side of the layout over here. I have sanded, not very well, but I've sanded as much as I'm going to on this trim along the door. And like I say, all the holes filled. And now I think what I'm going to do, at least this is the plan, this from about 3 inches out here all the way to the back is 8 feet. So if I can get a finished piece of plywood, finished one side piece of plywood, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to cut it to this shape, that shape, cut it to here, and cut it down here, and then I'm going to round the end as much as I can round it. Then what I plan on doing is when I bring my fascia around here, I'll just bring the fascia, a strip of fascia right along there, and carry the fascia on right around the front of this shelf and right around to the wall here. And that'll all be painted the same color or a similar color. I probably won't be able to get this same color gray, but if you guys remember, this was the gray that I had on my fascia. I'm going to get a very similar color. The new fascia will be approximately the same color, and so will this wall up to there, all the way over to here, and all the way up there. And so the fascia down here will tie into the wall color there and go around. Then I have a piece of half round molding that I'm going to put up and down there. The fascia on the layout itself will go straight back to that, and then it'll have a corner on it here, and it'll make a curve around that corner there and go back. But we're a long ways from fascia. Sorry about jostling you around. We're a long way from fascia, but we're a short ways from putting the tabletop in here. And I'm probably going to stain the tabletop and then caulk along the back edge of it all the way around these two sides and down this way. And I think that'll finish it off pretty nicely and give me a place to stack the model boxes back there, give me a place to start putting shelves. I don't have a hurried plan to put shelves in there. By the way, I'll go back with white and paint this trim strip white. Anything down below here will go back to black because I have some black skirting that goes around the bottom if I ever choose to put it in there. But right now, that's the game plan. I couldn't figure out how I was going to trim or what kind of desktop or tabletop I was going to do around there. But I think the plywood stained and then maybe a little varnish on top of it or something would be a good way to go. And then tying it in with the gray and making the wall gray. So that's the plan as of right now. And that's about it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed Update 8. And I appreciate Gavin being here and giving me a hand.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video today, and I guess we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, guys.